This week, the House just passed a bill to potentially ban TikTok in the US. Now, what does that mean for advertisers and why this could be more devastating than previous threats? Let's jump into all that today, guys. So late Wednesday night, it was reported that the House passed this bill that would effectively ban TikTok for distribution in the United States amongst the different app stores. So Google Play, Apple Store, basically any app publisher, unless its parent company ByteDance sold off its shares and interests. And I believe it would have to be to an allied nation as well for it to continue to be distributed here in the US. If you're unfamiliar with who ByteDance is, basically they're a huge tech company based out of China. So they've been nicknamed the App Factory. I believe they were founded in about 2012, and since then have made many popular apps, mainly in China. And their first global app was TikTok when it came out in 2020. And since then, their estimated value is at about $268 billion. And so the main concern, though, is that they are a Chinese-backed company and that there's many legal requirements for them based in Chinese law that may require them to provide information to the government from their app users. So that's kind of where the main concern comes from. So why is this more devastating than previous threats and all of the news about TikTok? Is because this is an actual vote passed in the House of Representatives that will need to now go to the Senate floor for voting. And if passed there, it's going to make its way to the president's desk, which the president has already said about this bill. If it gets to him, he will be signing off on it. So this is where there could be a concern for advertisers and creators, influencers, users of TikTok, where there's actually a lot more punch behind this than previous communications and just rumors, news going on in the previous years about all this. There's some actual meat to this now. So this is going to be very interesting to watch politically how this unfolds. Now, if fully voted on, approved, signed into action, this would effectively give ByteDance about 5 to 6 months to sell off its share of the company, or it would be permanently banned in the US. So again, that means that not only are they not allowed here, it would make it illegal for publishers of apps to even provide it in their app stores, to provide scrutiny on them as well. There is going to be a really hard part here for TikTok because finding a buyer for them is going to be very challenging. For one, I believe the bill states that it does have to be an allied nation. So wherever that company is based has to be allied to the United States. And for any business in the United States that could potentially buy TikTok or would have interest in it, there would be a lot of antitrust issues that could potentially arise from that, making it very difficult for them to sell off, which could be a political play here where, someone like Microsoft, Google, Meta, potentially having interest there. There could be a monopoly play where the courts don't allow the sale to go through, which then would basically make TikTok unavailable. Another thing to consider too is that this could easily spook bigger advertisers away from the platform. I believe as of last year, the ad revenue in the US for TikTok was about $8 billion, which compared to the other ad platforms here isn't as much, but it's still a considerable share. And there's about 120 million users right now on TikTok, so there's a lot of eyeballs there, and it's a very unique platform for advertisers because of the short form video. And considering all the other platforms have that as an add-on, the primary use of TikTok is that. And that's what makes it very unique for advertisers to create content, ad copy, ad creatives that really speak to that type of audience. This makes it a very interesting play because, again, these other ad platforms like Google and Meta are basically playing catch up to TikTok because of the short form videos. They didn't necessarily have those until TikTok exploded in 2020, and you can relate that to many different things. But since then, these other ad platforms and social sites have been trying to implement the same thing. According to the Statista data points here, since TikTok took off, short form video is still the most popular on TikTok, but YouTube Shorts and Facebook and Instagram Reels has been trying to capture that share as well, more popularly on Instagram compared to the other platforms. You have to kind of look at who stands to benefit the most from this type of ban, from really kicking a huge competitor out of the marketplace. Like, it's a pretty crazy move if you really think about it, amongst these different tech giants. And this isn't to say that there's not unfounded belief in the concerns and different stuff like that, but to just look at this at a purely business level, it's pretty astounding. And to the person that I think, or company I think, benefits the most here would be Meta, just considering that they have the more social platform compared to YouTube, in my opinion. YouTube is still fantastic for video content, tutorials and different things like that, but there's a more social aspect to Meta and Instagram where that traffic, if banned, would be easily going to those channels instead, and that's who I can see benefiting the most from this. So how is this going to affect advertisers? I really think one of the things is going to be, if this is passed and TikTok is eventually banned, the creator community of TikTok, while not as big as YouTube, is still going to, I think they have a better following and a better social proof and just structure where people really respond to the platform's creators compared to other ones. And I think they're going to have a hard time finding similar ones. And I think we will see, if this does go through, we're going to see deals cut with bigger creators on TikTok to basically bring their audiences over to Meta, to YouTube, to basically pull that traffic over there, just to ensure that that revenue share gets allocated to those businesses and not just lost and dispersed. So that's one thing that I think will happen amongst creators. And so larger advertisers, or those using creators, should probably be on the lookout already for potentially other creators and influencers on these platforms that would fit in with their demographics and audiences. And another thing to consider too for advertisers is, if we do lose TikTok as an ad platform to advertise on, these other platforms right now are really nothing like TikTok. TikTok is a special type of channel where you can get eyeballs on it in the way that it does, and that's just because of how it's set up. Now, these different platforms, they have different ad types, different inventory slots, and not all of them are focused on shorts and reels. So that could be a potential issue of these other platforms trying to get more inventory space ready, and even providing that as far as their ad platforms. If we get into the technical side of, building out ads, these platforms, besides Meta, like Google's kind of the worst to me, in my opinion, right now, is they don't provide a dedicated inventory slot for Reels or Shorts for them. You have to allocate it in a disbursement amongst their discovery type campaigns, where it's going to be, in your Gmail, display, and potentially Reels. So demand gen is that specific campaign type with Google Ads. But again, you're still not really guaranteed to show up in Reels, even if you upload a short video to display there. So that's kind of one of the drawbacks right now, and would be really interesting to see how Google handles this if TikTok is banned, to capture that traffic, because I think advertisers want that short style video to market to, and they're building content around that and in that style. And if they can't put those ad dollars to that specific inventory slot, I think Google's missing out a lot there. Meta, you can still target it for the most part. It still gets dispersed amongst other channels, but you have a better shot of buying that ad space. Now, again, we're looking at worst case scenario, TikTok being banned, advertisers having to find other channels and methods to advertise their short form content. Another thing that I think we need to consider is that if that does happen, there would be rising costs to go to these other platforms, and maybe not at first, but as soon as the bigger advertisers get over there, Google and Meta are going to crank up that ad inventory space to where it's going to price out smaller people because they want to capture that larger traffic and give those inventory spots to larger advertisers. So it'll be really interesting to see how all of that pans out, how much traffic is acquired, if TikTok is banned and those users are going to YouTube Shorts, Meta Reels for their content. So I really want to know, what do you guys think of this whole situation of TikTok being potentially banned, and what are you doing as an advertiser to prepare for that? Go ahead and leave your comments below, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Thanks, guys.